Hello and welcome to the Intel Brief. Today is Tuesday, 4 February. I'm your host Daniel, and today we'll be covering at least 10 people have been killed at a Swedish school, police say. The Rebel Alliance has announced a unilateral ceasefire in Goma, the DRC, and Trump's tariffs stoke trade war fears. So firstly, at least 10 people have been killed, including the perpetrator, in a school shooting at an adult education centre in Sweden. The incident occurred at the Risbergska school, located on a campus that also houses other educational facilities. Emergency services, including police, ambulance, and rescue teams, responded to the scene, with 4 injured individuals being taken to a local university hospital. Authorities stated that they are treating the case as an attempted murder, arson, and aggravated weapons offences, but have not found any evidence of a terrorist motive. The suspect, who was not known to police and had no apparent ties to gangs or organised crime, is believed to have acted alone. Swedish officials, including the Prime Minister and Justice Minister, described the event as tragic and alarming. Police have reassured the public that there is no further danger and that students had been kept inside the school and nearby institutions for their safety. While school shootings are rare in Sweden, a journalist noted that the attacks in the past typically involved knives rather than firearms, marking this as a significant development. Though the shooter's motives remain unclear, speculation includes possible links to hate crimes or gang-related violence. Authorities are continuing their investigation, and the government is closely monitoring the situation. So what? Sweden has been battling issues with highly armed criminal groups for several years now, with several reports of bombings and shootings in the past. While it is still under investigation as to what the cause of this attack is, it is still possible that this is a continuation of ongoing criminal battles. Regardless, it is likely that political groups in Sweden will use this event to support their narrative. And next, the alliance of rebel groups that captured Goma, a strategic city in the DRC, has declared a ceasefire for humanitarian reasons. This pause in fighting with the Congolese army is set to begin on Tuesday and comes after hundreds of thousands of people have been displaced and increasing calls for the safe passage of aid. The UN Human Rights Council is also preparing to hold an emergency session on the situation, following calls from the capital of the DRC, Kinshasa. The Rebel Alliance, known as the Congo River Alliance, includes the Rwandan-backed M23 rebels. While the M23 rebels have been gaining territory, they have stated they have no intention of driving further into the country. The UN has reported at least 900 people being killed in last week's fighting in Goma, which was captured by M23 rebels on January 27th. The escalation in this conflict has raised fears that it could turn out to be similar to the one that occurred between 1996 and 2003 that resulted in the death of 1 million people. So what? Though this is a positive short-term development, it is unlikely to hold into a long-term ceasefire. It is likely that this is a short-term pause to allow the delivery of aid and other supplies to be distributed and the wounded to be evacuated. It is likely that it will take significant involvement from the UN to resolve this conflict, especially if the goal is to drive M23 out of Goma. Alternately, it may require UN forces to isolate Goma and use political pressure on Rwanda to have M23 withdraw. Regardless, it is unlikely that this situation will be resolved in the short to medium term. And lastly, global stock markets have plunged, the dollar surged, and oil prices have spiked in response to US President Donald Trump's new tariffs on Canada, Mexico, and China. The tariffs, which were set to impose 25% additional duties on imports from Canada and Mexico and 10% on goods from China, were paused for 30 days just before taking effect. Economists have warned that these unprecedented tariffs could paralyze economic growth both in the US and globally. Trump has justified these tariffs as a measure to address trade imbalances and to combat the illegal drug trade and irregular migration, but experts fear they could escalate to full-blown trade wars. The announcement has caused significant market reactions, with Asian and European stock markets falling and shares in the European automakers dropping sharply. The Northern American auto industry, deeply integrated with cross-border supply chains, has faced major disruptions. While the tariffs have been delayed in both Canada and Mexico, the ones with China are still going ahead. It'll be interesting to see if these delays are permanent or just temporary measures. So what? Well, you can say one thing about Trump. He didn't lie about what he was going to do. So far, it seems like Trump has got some good wins with Canada and Mexico, both agreeing to increase border security and improve cooperation for immigration and fentanyl trafficking. However, a trade war with China seems likely and will be very costly for the US. It seems unlikely that Trump or China will back down on this one, as Trump wants to reduce the US reliance on China for critical products such as batteries and other technologies. While China obviously doesn't like this, so wants to try discourage its development by making the US suffer financially. Thank you for tuning in to the Intel Brief, your daily update on global geopolitics, brought to you by HM Intelligence. You can support the show by sharing it with your friends and leaving us a 5-star review. And if you're curious to learn more about intelligence, you can sign up to one of our courses in the description below. We currently have 33% off the complete package, which includes all of our courses. Thank you for listening. I've been your host, Daniel, and I'll see you next time.